Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Welcome to another episode of Fathers of the Grind. My name is Tim Nestor, and I'm here with Derek Teague. Hello, Derek.
Welcome, Tim. This is Derek.
Long time, no talk. I know we haven't spoken in a little while. We recorded some back-to-back episodes over the last few weeks to cover my move and stuff. So, how's it going?
It's going great. I mean, the longer I go without talking to you, the better my life gets for
right?
some reason.
Yeah, I think that makes for better episodes. So we need to talk less, actually. That'd be great. So we've successfully made the move out here to Colorado, and so I'm in a different time zone now, and you've uninstalled Rocket League, so those two themes combined means we'll never play games together again, I think.
Yeah, and then I decided that I missed Rocket League, and after it was gone for 1 week, I reinstalled it, and I've actually been playing it all weekend.
I knew it.
And getting very, very angry at bad teammates, because I'm still pretty amazing at it, even with 1 week off.
Yeah, it was fun to get our internet going again here this week. We lived without it for a little while, and believe it or not, everybody, you can survive without internet for too long. Believe it or not. But once we got it back, I did fire up a few games of Rocket League. I probably played 4 or 5 rounds since getting that going, and still fun. Still love it. Still one of my favorites. But
I actually thought about inviting you to play Saturday night because I saw you were online, and then I was like, no, I still don't want to talk to you.
All right, well, good. Now we can kind of break the ice. Let's get it all out on the table during this episode. Let's just let the feelings go free and just say what needs to be said. Speaking of games that I still love, I have completely been just totally lost in the Witcher 3 world again. So I went back and played Hearts of Stone last month. Loved it. It was a really good story. It wasn't extremely huge. They just kind of built out the existing world, and as I talked about, they built out the map. Really great story. Loved it a lot. And now, on May 31st, The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine expansion released, and it is a full-blown expansion. I mean, we can talk about it now if you want to. If you've played some of it, I think you even beat it.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Like, where are you at right now? I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything.
I'm not super far. I mean, I just kind of discovered a couple of twists of who is who. I'll just put it that way. Like, who's kind of causing the problems, the reason that Geralt has traveled to
been summoned.
Yeah, and so I've been introduced to all the major players, and I'm pretty early, I think, in the main quest line, but I have been spending hour upon hour just exploring that world and doing side quests and playing Gwent. There's a whole new Gwent deck with the is it Skellige or Skellige? I'm not sure. With the Skellige deck with a whole new group of people to use for the game of Gwent. And there's just a ton of side quests as well that I've been running. Some monster hunts.
Confession, I don't know how to play Gwent.
Oh, okay. You know what? It's not for everybody, but I will say this. If you like card games at all, Gwent is totally worth your time.
What the problem is the card game part of it sounds interesting, because I've even been kind of interested in, like, what is it, Hearthstone or whatever?
Yeah, Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought it was Hearthstone.
I'm going to go with Hearthstone, but I don't know.
Hearthstone makes sense, but I could have sworn I saw Hearthstone.
You know why it is? It's because when I hear, like, from a movie or something, when like some old medieval king invites you to come warm at his hearth or whatever, like, to come into his castle, that's what I think of. Hearthstone. Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to get made fun of for that, because somebody's going to be like, it's so...
All right, so anyway, you're not really big into Gwent, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem is, and it goes back to what I've shared before with all our listeners, I hate reading. And so, in order to play, like, a card game that's not action-based, you have to read the rules and try to understand it. And so, I actually, again, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a part in the DLC for Blood and Wine where you basically can buy something, or you can play to earn it by playing a game of Gwent and beating the character.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the coin to buy what I wanted to buy, so I played the game. Like, I just jumped in it, and I won the first round because I used all my cards.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, see? That's a rookie mistake right there.
So I used all my cards, so I went to round 2, and I had nothing to play, and I'm like, well, I don't understand. I destroyed her.
Pro tip, you want to get some of those spy cards in your deck that have as low attack as possible and throw them on their side, and that'll build up your numbers, so you'll have like 14, 15 cards to use. Yeah.
Needless to say, I forfeited the game. I let the jerk win, and then I went and got the money and went back and bought what I needed.
There you go.
Buy.
There you go. Well, it's not for everybody, but it certainly is a fun part of the game for me. And speaking of which, I think we're going to talk about this later, but they did announce that Gwent, and I think they're going to really make it official this week. Maybe it's not announced. It's rumored that Gwent is going to get a separate release as a standalone game, most likely in the mobile format, which I think is brilliant. As a free-to-play game where you buy packs, I mean, why wouldn't they do that? That would be brilliant.
I mean, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but Bethesda, we're recording on a Sunday night. Bethesda had their E3 show, and they just announced their Elder Scrolls card game.
Right, Legends, right?
Yeah, so a lot of these developers or publishers are kind of jumping on this bandwagon. Sooner or later, it's going to be a little over flooded and everybody won't care again. Right. But for right now, it's the hot thing to drop these type of little card games, and I think Gwent's probably a pretty good one, but I don't personally care.
Well, it certainly is a big part of the game for me, but suffice to say, Blood and Wine, if I had to sum it up, I would say it improves what was already a nearly perfect game, in my opinion, in almost every way. The visuals, the writing's even better, the storyline's intriguing, the side missions are even better, believe it or not. And
I didn't do much of the side missions.
There's a lot of good ones.
What I did is, because since we're talking about Blood and Wine now, what I did is, first of all, I'm blown away by the graphics. I don't know if you noticed the big difference that I did, but it's, I would say, after we just came off of playing Uncharted 4, and you got to remember, and we talked about this when we talked about Uncharted 4, we're talking about an open world, huge game compared to Uncharted, which is a little bit more open, but it's not huge like The Witcher. I would have to say The Witcher surpasses Uncharted 4 when it comes to how beautiful it is with the scope.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use too. Yeah.
So Blood and Wine is gorgeous. So if you haven't played it, if you download it and you eventually play it, the first thing you'll notice, especially if you've played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, is it is definitely significant, the change. Like it's not like The Witcher 3 was an ugly game. It was a gorgeous game already, but this is just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the coloring, because the location is just such a beautiful location. And it actually gets prettier when you get to another, and I won't spoil it because you're definitely not there. But later on in the DLC or expansion, you go to this place that is just super freaking cool. It's probably the coolest place I've ever explored in a game. Period.
Wow, and that's saying something.
And it's really gorgeous.
Yeah, I think the comparison to Uncharted 4 is a fair one. I think that's a good comparison, just because of the sheer like breathtaking nature of the environments.
Yeah, and again, Uncharted 4 blows everybody out of the way when it comes to their level of detail for the size of their game. I'm just talking about comparing it with how huge The Witcher is and how beautiful it is at the same time. Now, that being said, Blood and Wine is the best expansion I've ever played. Now, I don't play a lot of expansions / DLCs in general, because I find, and I've said this before, they don't usually add a lot of value. Hearts of Stone added, to me, a lot of value. I really liked it. It had great characters. It had a good story. It did a little something different than just, hey, take this mission, go, kill them with their swords, and then move forward. They did, a whole a wedding thing.
Well, here's a good example. Just to feed off of that, did you do at least the initial side quests where you're helping the two different vineyard owners with their issues? Did you do that side quest at least?
For Hearts of Stone?
Oh no, I'm sorry. For Blood and Wine.
I don't think so.
Because that's a great opening side quest. I
only did one side quest. I may have done like a few others that I didn't pay attention to.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a couple others, but the main side quest I did intentionally, and that was to unlock mutagens.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, there's also a side
So-
quest to unlock the Grandmaster armor sets. Did you do that one? Or did you skip that?
Yes, I did do that.
Okay,
I unlocked the wolf set.
Yep.
And I was going to go ahead and unlock all 6, which I probably will. And that was what I was going to get to. I like to play through the story, and Blood and Wine's story hooked me.
Yeah.
I actually would say it's the best story in all of The Witcher 3.
Yeah. Okay. That's
I
good.
just
That makes me
really,
excited.
really enjoyed it.
Good, because I'm not that
Well,
far
I
into it
like-
yet. So.
I like the mystery behind it. At first, you get kind of hooked because you're like, well, who's behind this? Who's doing this? And again, I'm not going to spoil anything. And then you kind of find out quickly who did it. And then you're like, all right, well, why?
That's exactly
and
where
then
I
you
am
find
right
out
now. I'm
why.
at what's going on. Why is this person doing this? Like, I just figured out
Yeah.
who it was. Okay.
Yeah, and so then you find out why, and then there's another mystery because they kind of throw a twist at you.
Awesome.
And so it kind of just keeps going that way. And I've said this before, I like games that have some type of mystery element to it. Something that keeps me going through your story. Why am I playing? Because I want to know this.
Yeah.
And so that's what Blood and Wine did. It successfully did that for me. And it hooked me to the point where I was like, look, I know I'm gonna do the side quests, and sure, they would have helped me with leveling up. But I'll be honest with you, in Blood and Wine, you level up pretty fast.
You do.
Like the game,
Yeah, good progression.
The game keeps you with the level that you should be at for a story. So if you just go and do the story missions, the game will level you up that you're at an even keel
Yeah.
with the story.
Now,
so
do you notice
they're-
the difference in the menu systems, the alchemy, the crafting?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay. 'Cause-
Everything's been upgraded.
Totally upgraded.
Everything's better.
Yeah.
Um,
Organized.
it's
Your
definitely
items
cleaner.
are organized now. When you pick up a document or a book, it gives you a quick R3 click to read it without going into their
Yeah.
formerly cumbersome item menu system. You can just quick read it and then activate the next part of a quest. It's way better. I mean, they've improved the game in every way.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, this is an expansion, and it definitely didn't take me 20 hours. I know when they were releasing information about the game, they were like, "This is a 20-hour expansion." Probably what they meant, and maybe they did say this, and I just missed it, is if you do everything.
Okay.
I probably finished the main story in 10, 12 hours.
Okay, so not too much longer than Hearts of Stone's main story.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And maybe it was a little bit longer. Maybe I just got caught up in it, but I didn't feel like I played it that long, and I was like, oh, I'm already at the end.
See, I probably put in 10 to 12 hours, and I'm not that far in the story. Like I said, I've been kind of doing what I did when I first
but
played
you're
The
doing-
Witcher. I'm digging into all these little corners of the world and finding all sorts of stuff. So.
And so I'm the reverse of you. So I did the story, and now I'm gonna go do
Gotcha.
all the side
Cool.
stuff. Because I think there was only one mission that it said I failed because I progressed in the story.
Okay.
But it's not really a big deal because it's not that long of DLC that I could just start over if I wanted to.
Okay. Cool.
But anyways, the game, and we'll move on from this because we've played some other games as well.
Yeah, but this is
the
the most
game is
interesting one, I
superb.
think, and I think a lot of our listeners are probably playing it too.
Yeah.
I know a lot in our group have been posting their pictures and talking about their experience with the game. I think it's fair to say that Blood and Wine feels as close to a full sequel to the game
Yeah.
as I've ever experienced in an expansion. I mean, almost like the Taken King felt for Destiny, the difference between the two. It has that kind of a jump, that feel to it. Now, the original Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is still an amazing game. I think it's earned its spot in history as one of the great games of this console generation. But I think Blood and Wine, as an expansion, as I'm playing it and as I'm experiencing everything from the, like I said, menu system, the way you equip things, the way your abilities work, to the storyline, the new world, it almost feels like, The Witcher 3.5. Like, it feels like almost a full sequel. So it's great. It's amazing. I can't recommend it enough. If you are someone who's played The Witcher 3, then get it. If you haven't played it, then play The Witcher 3, and then make sure you get these 2 expansion packs. So
Yeah,
amazing.
it definitely feels like a sequel, and it's really cool that it came out a year later.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny that a developer like CD Projekt Red can create an expansion like this that's bigger than a lot of AAA games that come out.
Totally. Absolutely.
And it doesn't lack the polish or detail. It has that all intact.
Yep.
And they could have easily just released an expansion at the equal level of The Witcher 3, changed nothing, and they still chose to upgrade it and make it prettier, cleaner, and I think even a little bit more fun. And so I definitely think, I won't say it's the best game I played all year, because, well, Dark Souls 3 exists, but it's definitely one of my favorites that I played.
Well, you guys will hear me talk about it more over the coming weeks. Again, assuming I don't get fired before then.
Speaking, you're definitely.
But yeah, it's gonna be on my rotation here for a while, since I am taking my time with it. So.
Speaking of Dark Souls 3, let's get an update on Tim's playthrough. I'm sure you're really far.
Yeah, you know how I kept promising, you know what, I am going to do it. I am going to play it. No, I haven't done that yet. I actually got really close to just deleting it off my hard drive, so I didn't feel guilty.
Wow.
I don't want to feel guilty anymore about just looking at it, staring me down. So anyway, no, I have not played that, but I have played one other game that I'll talk about, and then I'll let Derek share what he's been playing. Hint, it does connect to Dark Souls 3, so get ready for that. But I've been playing through Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I just started it this weekend, and so for just kind of a little background, I've never played Mirror's Edge. I know we talked about this. You know, should I play the first one? And I never did, and I actually never even went to learn the story. I just kind of walked into this one blind. I just wanted to see.
I think it's a reboot, though. I thought I heard that this one was like a reboot.
I have no idea.
Like, hey, we're just starting everything over.
I should be more knowledgeable about it, but I know that the game starts with you being released from prison. Is that how the first one starts?
That was what I was wondering, because I was like, well, that's kind of weird, because you know everybody, and they know you, and they got you out of prison or whatever.
Yeah, they give you the kind of this really quick, easy to understand, kind of in some ways cliche story of you already are established as this runner, you're already awesome, you've got a history with your guy Noah. And by the way, why is it always an Old Testament Bible character who's like your mentor? It's always Jacob or Noah or Mordecai. Anyway, so Noah is of course your mentor and your teacher, and as you're released from prison, you're trying to reconnect with him. And you've got a new arch rival who works with Noah. His name is Icarus. And then, of course, there's this mysterious group that's after you. You owe them money for something that went down. And then they just throw you right into it. Like, hey, here's all your gear. Welcome back. Here's the basics of the gameplay. And we'll give you a few missions. And so it feels a little bit like... Now, just bear with me for a second. A little bit like starting out in Dying Light. You start out with a couple of you must do this type missions, follow this guy, he'll teach you the ropes, and then they open it up a little bit. They give you one or two missions, and then they really start to open it up. I wouldn't call it open world. It still feels very confined because of the way they design the rooftops. You're not down on the street level, you're completely on rooftops. And so I wouldn't call it open world, but there is a sense of you choose which path you want to go from point A to point B. And it is really good.
Well, that's good, because I bought it, and I don't give a crap to play it. I mean, I played like an hour, and I was like, and the entire time I was playing, I was like, oh, this is fun. So, I'm going to go play Bloodborne again. I mean, that is exactly what I did. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Well, and I asked myself, like, why'd you buy this?
All right.
Why'd you buy it? You don't even care
I'm
to play it.
I'm getting interrupted here for a second. Hang on, you guys. I'm going to have my daughter say goodnight to everybody. Go ahead and say goodnight, everybody.
Oh.
Good night, everybody.
There we go.
Good night, everybody. Right. Back to you.
Good night. Say fathers of the grind.
Fathers of the grind.
Nailed it. All right. Good night. Okay. All right. So anyway, yeah, Mirror's Edge Catalyst is pretty fun. Let me just give you a couple criticisms of it, though. The combat, the melee first-person combat is really weak when you compare it to games that have come out even just this year, like Far Cry Primal. Just nailed that first-person combat, I thought.
I thought that it's cool when you do it from like a combo of you running and jumping and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's just basically a one-hit.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
Right. When you're on the run.
When you actually, cool. Yeah. But when you're actually like just standing there and fighting, it's like you guys could have made this simpler. Like you could have made it like Far Cry or something like that.
That, or just make all of the combat where you're on the run. That to me was much more exciting. So you're going down this long corridor in the building, or maybe you're outside on the rooftops and you've got guys that are up there spotting, trying to snipe you. And they have some cool systems. Like if you keep your speed up and your momentum up, you've got this focus shield that will allow you to take a couple of bullets without slowing you down. So as long as you can keep your momentum going, then that pays off. And then, like Derek said, if you're jumping down from up high, or if you're running on the wall, or if you're sliding under something and you attack at the right time, you can knock these guys down and keep running. It's very cool. But when you all of a sudden, and it happens, you get stuck into this kind of little arena type area and you have to take down 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 guys. It's not awful. Like I'm not sitting there groaning, but it's not that fun either. You got very limited move set. It's not really designed to be a game about combat. It's about running. So the strength of the game is when you're running and jumping and leaping from place to place, and when you can nail that landing off of a really high jump.
Yeah.
That's where the game flourishes. That's where it's really good. And then where it kind of slows down, you realize the shortcomings is when you're stuck in combat. So I like it. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm not too far into it yet. I'm probably 3 or 4 hours into it. I'm enjoying it, though, with my first Mirror's Edge experience. And, yeah, I'll let you know what I think when I'm finished. I'm going to go back and forth between Mirror's Edge and Witcher 3. So it's a nice counterbalance of two different types of games.
Yeah, which is what I like to do.
But now
I
you're
like to
playing a timeless classic. Tell us what you're playing.
I'm currently on level 99.9654321 of Solitaire.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
I've been really beasting out on Solitaire.
Well, the benefit there is you can play while at work. So.
Well, and here's the other thing. It's like they've released a patch, so I'm now in 4K with touch controls and VR.
Those cards have never been realer.
Yeah, so I've been really, really looking forward to just diving back into it and seeing if I can get past that.
Right, that storyline. Yeah. Anyway, so what else are you playing?
Well, the plot twist of the king turning into a queen was out of this world. But spoiler. But no, I recently completed The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine. We don't need to talk about that anymore. You know how I feel about it. I give it a 10 out of 10 if anybody cares about a score.
Yeah.
Awesome. I had the week off of work because I actually was... we had Copa America here in Orlando, or I should say Orlando was part of it.
Which is so awesome.
And so I bought some tickets and we went to some matches. We got to see Brazil, which was the big team that me and my kids wanted to see. But
no Neymar,
the reason
right?
I share that is I took off... What's that?
No Neymar, right?
No Neymar. Really, honestly, on Brazil, and they just got eliminated tonight, they really didn't have any of their players that anybody who follows Brazil would even know about. So that was kind of lame, but I did get to see them, and they did score 7 goals in that match.
Wow.
They beat Haiti 7-1, and they played 2 other matches in their group and scored 0. So all the goals they scored were in Orlando, which was pretty cool. But again, they got eliminated. But I only shared that because I took off the week so I could just hang out with the kids, go to those matches. But that also gave me a lot more free time to play video games. So I went into the vacation with a plan of obviously playing Mirror's Edge because I knew I was buying that, or I'd already pre-ordered it. I wanted to knock out The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, so I knocked out The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine. Mirror's Edge, I started it, but again, I'm not knocking the game. It's more of just me, not like me playing it going, I just don't care. Yeah. Like, why did I buy this?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And a big part of that is because I did read some reviews, and all the reviews I read were knocking how lame the story was, and that the combat was kind of pathetic.
The story is pretty cliche so far, I will admit that.
Oh, and the other thing is that the open world is not, it's just lifeless. And I was like, well, one of the reasons why I pre-ordered it, and this is my fault, I'm not blaming anybody else, but one of the reasons why I pre-ordered it is because I had faith. Get that? Faith. That's the main character.
Well done.
Anyways, I had faith that EA was, because I heard this was kind of like a reboot. I guess what they mean by that is they were just going to redo it and make it better, but I guess it's still continuing the story of Faith. But I thought that they would really put a lot of effort into the story. And then when I heard it was open world, I was like, wow, this could be really cool. So I just pre-ordered it. Yeah, and I thought it was going to be really cool. And again, I'm not knocking the game, but overall, all the negatives from almost every reviewer was saying this is the reason I bought it. So it kind of put me in a point where I was like, I don't really care to play this. So that being said, I decided on my week off to play through Bloodborne again. And I actually knocked it out quite quickly. I started on a Friday night and I beat it on Monday night,
Whoa.
I think. And it was a lot easier this time around, and I actually soloed more bosses than I did the first time I played it. I didn't play on New Game Plus. I played it on... And this is how awesome I am. Alright, so the whole point of me starting this whole thing over was just to, A, play for fun, but it was also to get access to the DLC I had bought for Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I had originally
It's called
pre-ordered...
the Old Hunter, right? Or Old Hunter?
Yeah, I had originally pre-ordered the Old Hunter, and I had already beat Bloodborne, and when you beat Bloodborne, like, once you finish the final boss, it's not like Dark Souls 3. It automatically puts you in New Game Plus.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't let you go back into the world and just explore it. It just starts you in New Game Plus. So, talking to my buddy Sasan, he was like, look, if you're going to play the Old Hunter, I suggest not doing it on New Game Plus because you're a pathetic Souls player. You should just start the game over. All you have to do is beat the first 3 or 4 bosses, and you'll have access to it. I was like, okay. So I got in a rhythm, and I beat the first 4 bosses with no problems. And then I was like, well, I just want to keep playing. I'm just going to beat the game, and then I'll be a really high level, and then I will go and play the DLC. Well, here's the thing. I didn't know until after I beat the game that I didn't remember this, that it automatically puts you in New Game Plus. So what I should have done is beat the second to last boss, which technically could be... Well, never mind. I'm not going to get into spoilers.
And then go to the Old Hunter content from right there.
Yes,
Okay.
and I didn't do that.
boy.
I went and finished the game.
And so now it's super hard, I bet, trying the Old Hunter stuff.
So I went into New Game Plus, and I was like, okay, I'll just beat the first 4 bosses again. Let me see how I do in New Game Plus. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I keep saying the first 4. One of them's optional. It's the first 3.
Okay.
Well, actually, 2 of them are optional. But anyways, I beat the first 3.
Important details.
I'm remembering
Important
this
details.
stuff as I'm talking. Exactly. The details that nobody cares about. So I beat the first 3 bosses again. And it actually wasn't hard. It was actually quite easy. And I jumped in the Old Hunter, and I was getting, I won't say demolished, but one of the hardest parts for me in Bloodborne is fighting the Old Hunters. They're basically NPCs that are just like your character. So they're really fast, and they hit hard, and here's the most annoying part, they have the ability to heal themselves. So, like, if you start knocking them down, but you run out of stamina and you back off because you don't want to get your butt whipped, if they're real low, they can just heal themselves.
Gotcha.
And it's like, oh, I just gotta repeat this again. So anyways, you run into a ton of them. And I didn't watch any videos or anything going into it. I just went into it. And I was like, oh, I fought the first one, I beat him, and it wasn't that hard. And I was like, okay, no big deal. I shouldn't run into one for a while. No, I ran into like 7 of them. And I had to just run away after I beat like 5 of them, and then one of them was beating the heck out of me. So I ran away, and I then did some research and found out I'm under-leveled by like 15 levels. So, because I was getting my butt kicked by this mini-boss. Yep. And anybody who's played it will know who I'm talking about. He comes flying out of these 2 doors, and he just beats the crap out of people.
Yep.
So, anyways, long story, or I should say, well, super long story, a little bit less long. Bloodborne's really, really good. I still like Dark Souls 3 better. I've now completed both those games twice, and I just love them. And I actually could see myself playing Bloodborne a 3rd time through because I'm already 3 bosses in, so it's really not that hard, and I know where everything is, I know where I'm going, and I could probably knock it out of a 3rd playthrough in a couple days. But I put that on the back burner. I'll just level up later, but right now I jumped into Dragon Age. And so I'm playing the DLC.
Wow.
Yeah. I already beat the game, and I bought the Game of the Year version that gives you all the expansions, but they don't call them expansions. And I never played them, so I've only played like an hour, but I jumped into one. So I'm playing that. It seems cool. I don't think it's Witcher level of quality.
Right. But they're very different
as
games, but I
the
see what you're saying.
Yeah. they get compared a lot, but like playing the expansions, and it's not even close now. Like The Witcher 3 blows Dragon Age away, and now coming play this like I would play, God of War, where you just hit the attack button over and over and over. Like they want you to play defense, they want you to use RPG elements and stuff like that. Great. I mean, greatest games of all time.
Well, like Derek said, we are recording on Sunday night, June 12th. So this is the beginning of a big week if you're a gamer. Probably the biggest week of the year, really, when it comes to news and announcements. And that is E3. And so today we had the EA conference. We had the Bethesda conference. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And then, of course, in the days to come, we're going to find out a whole lot more about what all the other companies are up to, what's coming down the pipeline. So we're only going to talk about what we can right now, some of the rumors. We'll make a couple predictions. I've got 2 or 3 community predictions to share as well. But for the most part, this is, as you just heard, us talking about what we've been playing, what we've been up to, and there's a few headlines. And this is always the case. In the weeks that lead up to E3, some big announcements are made, and it's almost like, let's just get this out of the way. Maybe something leaked, and we're just going to go ahead and confirm it, or maybe they've got other things to talk about at E3, and they're not planning to cover this particular game, so let's go ahead and get the news out about it. So there's a whole bunch of headlines to cover. And so you had talked about that things are slowing down for you in terms of games because you're going to get back to work and all that. Well, that's good because a lot of games are getting pushed back out of this year. The first one is Horizon Zero Dawn. That's kind of a bummer, but it's not really the end of the world. We have a release date. It's February 28th, 2017. So now we've got, in that same window this year, we had something like Far Cry Primal, we had Fire Emblem. It's cool to have games coming out in those winter months. So I'm looking forward to that. There's plenty to play, of course, as always. And so it'll be really cool to see Horizon come out. That's one of those games that just aesthetically and in the gameplay that they seem to be introducing just really ticks all the boxes for me. Like, it seems really exciting to me. So I'm excited for that one. Were you surprised at all by that delay?
Not really. I mean, I wanted it to be 2016 just because, maybe not as hyped as you, but I definitely see potential in that game. But I'm not, I'm not surprised. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised, to be honest with you, as we get closer to February, if they're like, this is a November 2017 game.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that would make me more disappointed. This one is more like, okay, well, now I'll have time to play No Man's Sky, comes out in August, Final Fantasy 15 September, Mafia 3 in October. I mean, not to mention the things that are coming in November, so that's going to be a busy time anyway. So that's my mindset now, but you're right. If they hesitate again on this February release date, that would be disappointing. Yeah. But there you go. That's not really a surprise. Most of you have heard about that already. A bigger piece of news, to me at least, a more exciting piece than a game delay, is Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, was announced for the PS4, and it's coming in 2017. I don't think it was announced for any other systems, or the PC even, although it still could come to those. But Final Fantasy XII, we've talked about this before, it's a game I'd love to revisit with an HD remaster, and here it comes. What do you think about that? What were your thoughts when you saw that was coming?
Okay, so as you've actually played a lot of the earlier Final Fantasy games, as a person who really started his love for Final Fantasy after 10, 12 is actually one of my favorites. Now, I never beat it or anything, so
yeah, neither did I.
I don't know how great it is as far as how the story plays out and stuff, but I just remember when I first started playing it, I really loved the characters. I liked at the time, and I cannot remember anything now, but I liked the politics that was in it, and I liked the world. Yeah, okay. So I'm actually really looking forward to this.
I remember liking the combat. It almost felt like you were controlling an MMO party, where you've got your tank, your healer, your DPS.
It definitely was really different from 10, and even 13.
I think it was the first Final Fantasy where you run right up and begin combat. You don't kind of break into a combat screen. I mean, other than 11, which was an MMO, it felt like 12 was that single player experience with some of those MMO tendencies kind of eking their way in. So I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to playing it again. I remember it had some really cool open areas, and for the time on the PlayStation 2, it was a really gorgeous looking game. So yeah, it'll be fun to give that one a go again. It won't be for another year though.
With them doing so many of these Final Fantasy, like, coming to PC, or I guess this is a remaster for the PS4. I wonder if they're gonna do what they did with like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and all, even 10 on the PC, which just recently released. You have the ability to speed up the game, or even basically turn on a God mode. I wonder if they're gonna do that with.
They didn't do that with 10 though, did they do it with 10?
They didn't do it with 10 on the PS4, but they just released it on PC like a month or so ago. So this is good news for Jesse. Yeah, I'm totally gonna call Jesse White out here. I actually bought it on PC, and you can basically turn on God mode for Final Fantasy X.
I did not know that.
You can
That's
speed
cool.
rush through it and everything, do all those things.
Which is good, because to me, the thing that held back 10 was there's too many moments that I thought took too long.
Yeah.
Whether it was areas to explore or conversations, any of that kind of stuff just took too long. So that's good. I like that.
Yeah, when I beat 10, it was back when, I still bought a lot of games, but I actually stuck with one game, and I didn't buy, like, they weren't releasing like they do now.
Right.
Like, you would go through months where there was just nothing good coming out.
Yeah, which is why you could really dig into some of these games. Yeah.
Whereas now, like, I was legitimately excited for Xenoblade Chronicles X, because I liked Xenoblade's Chronicles, and I played X for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big disappointments is that you create your own character. You're not actually a JRPG character in the game. You actually have to create your own avatar type thing, and I don't like that stuff. I don't like silent protagonists in a JRPG that have no. Like, it was just dumb. But anyways, my point is I was excited for that, and then I played like 10 minutes of it, and I was like, no, I just don't have time to invest 100 hours in this game.
You have no one to blame but yourself for that one.
Yeah, so it's probably an amazing game.
Speaking of games that are coming out this fall, we talked about August, September, October, and a big one in November is going to be Watch Dogs 2. It's been officially announced.
Hyped for this.
Yeah, it's been officially announced. There's a really cool trailer out for it. It looks like, this is very initial impressions. Mm-hmm. It looks like they're addressing a lot of the things that people didn't like about Watch Dogs 1. The visuals, of course, look far, far beyond what Watch Dogs 1 was able to pull off. Hopefully Ubisoft has learned the lesson in terms of showing something they can't deliver on. But here's the thing. Do you remember when Watch Dogs, the original, was announced and it took forever to come out? Well, now Watch Dogs 2 has been officially confirmed, even though it's been rumored for a while, and it's landing, supposedly, November 15th of this year. So that's going to be the big Ubisoft. We talked about this already, and it's exciting to see an official release date. Let's hope they stick to it, because that would be a great holiday game
I
to
don't
play.
think they will delay this one. I think the game is basically done.
I totally agree with you. That trailer looked like a pretty realized world. It's got a brand new lead character. It's set in San Francisco, which is a cool city choice, I think.
I mean, let's talk about that for a second, because first of all, let me say this. I loved Watch Dogs. I know it gets crapped on a lot by people, but I really did enjoy the game a lot. I even enjoyed it more than Grand Theft Auto 5, and I still liked it more than Grand Theft Auto 5.
I haven't even played it, and I know that's crazy.
And so anyway, I really liked the first one. So the second one, it's already a day one pre-order it just because I like it. But I am a little disappointed that it's going to be in San Francisco, because one of the things I loved about the first one was in Chicago. There's not a lot of games, even though Chicago's a huge city, like a real popular, big name, well-known city. There's not a lot of games set in Chicago. There's a lot of games set in California and New York and stuff like that. And so I was a little disappointed, because I felt like it was almost like, well, we didn't do as well as Grand Theft Auto, so maybe we should just go to California, because that's where the biggest Grand Theft Auto games have ever been set. Like, both San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 5 basically have that California, basically they're set in California, even though I don't know what GTA 5, if it's a fake city. I think it is.
It is.
But yeah, it's Los Santos.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, supposed to be Los Angeles, and then you have San Andreas, which is basically
It's basically California where you've
Yeah.
got like Las Vegas, L.A., and I think almost a San Fran type city. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my point is I felt like they were like, well, let's appease all the GTA fans and let's just go to California. And it's just been played so many times. Like, I think they're going to do a lot of cool stuff with San Francisco. I think San Francisco, like you said, is, out of all the environments in California, probably the coolest one. But I would have loved to seen something else. Like, I think, and we don't have to talk about it a lot, but, like, Mafia 3 is doing something cool because it's not going to the cliche, let's go to New York or California or something like that. They're set mainly in, I believe, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Which games have been in New Orleans before, but not like a Mafia, not like a GTA or something like that. So
Right.
I would have
I
liked
can't
to
think
see
of
a
any
better
games that
setting.
are set. Yeah, I think you're right. Not many games are set completely in Chicago. Like I'm just trying to think back on it, and you're right. There weren't that many. So I can see your point there, but I feel the same way about San Francisco. There's not too many set there either. So both have a good-sized city with some unique landmarks.
Well, you are wrong, Driver San Francisco.
Okay. Good
And
call.
I love that game.
Good call. All right, so let's keep going with the headlines here. We also
There's
speaking of
another awesome one.
Taken King earlier. We mentioned how Destiny really changed with the release of Taken King. Well, now in September, 2 years 2 years after Taken King came out, or is it 1 year? 1 year after Taken King came out. Yeah, 1 year. Rise of Iron is the next Destiny expansion, and it looks pretty great. Some of the details they've released. I don't really want to dig into this right now, just for the sake of time. But as we get closer to this release, I think there's a good reason, if you're a Destiny gamer or a former Destiny player like myself, there's good reason to be excited and consider jumping back in. So Rise of Iron looks pretty cool.
It's got like a Game of Thrones type vibe to it, in my opinion.
Yeah. These next two I don't think are worth talking too much about, but it's worth noting that the PS4K or PS4 Neo, it's confirmed by Sony that there is something real there. Whether it's an upgraded or improved version of their PS4 system is confirmed, but they wanted to get that out there, so we weren't anticipating something at E3. They said they're not going to be talking about it at E3. So that could be a blatant
real
lie
because of VR.
Well, it could be a blatant lie, and they will reveal it at E3, which I don't think is true, but it's possible.
They won't do that.
Or it's exactly what they said. There's something happening this fall, possibly with VR coming out. They're just not going to speak about it yet. So, and also Gwent. There was actually some large building-sized posters that CD Projekt Red put up around E3 that looked like they might have had to do with some kind of real-life card game of Gwent. Hang on one second. Is she okay? I heard her coughing. Is she okay? Okay. All right, anyway. So we see that CD Projekt Red is considering something there with Gwent as a standalone game. So whether that means a physical card game, which makes me much less interested, even though as a collector and a big fan, that's kind of cool. If it's a mobile or digital version of the card game, I'm on board. So we'll see what they have up their sleeves, hopefully this week during E3. All right. Here's an exciting piece. You and I have talked about this already as we reviewed games that have big games from 2016.
Yeah.
XCOM 2 is now coming to consoles on September 6th. This is exciting news, I think. I'm pumped about this.
You can pre-order it because I'm not excited.
XCOM 1 was really, really great. Kind of an interesting story, but it was all about that gameplay, that grid-based strategy, RPG style, really game.
For
really
me, the gameplay is fun. I think
Yeah.
for me, I just didn't like the...
That's
I
right.
just
You didn't like
get
the
hooked
alien thing.
Yeah, I don't get hooked into that stuff.
Okay. So that looks really cool. And also in September, and I'm hoping I read this story correctly, that ReCore is officially coming out for Xbox One and PC on September 13th. Did you hear about this news yet?
I haven't. This is actually brand new to me, and if it's true, that's awesome.
Now, this could be something that the Microsoft is going to talk about at E3 because the news article on IGN says that the release date has been leaked. And they apparently reached out to Microsoft for comment, and this is their response back to IGN, a shrug emoji with a link to their xbox.com/E3. So I think there's going to be something there with ReCore this week.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
I will say this, that it's probably true, Because one thing, and I want to give credit to Microsoft and the Xbox One release, that they've done so well that Sony has not done. And again, I'm only talking about AAA games. I'm not talking about, little digital games or anything like that. Is they've consistently, since the Xbox One has come out, have released major games in August, September, October, and then in November. They always have like something releasing, like one game that's from one of their big first parties, which they've obviously gotten more first party for this generation so far for the Xbox One. So it would fit into that. They're probably going to release something, maybe like a remaster or something like that in August, Recore in September, Gears is their big one in October. So November
that's a good call.
Yeah, and November is probably going to be, and this would be my call, is going to be Crackdown 3.
Oh man! So you're already giving us an early glimpse at one of your predictions. Crackdown 3 coming this fall. Nice.
Yeah, you saw my predictions online. I predicted E3 will be filled with game announcements.
Game announcements, yeah, which was bold. I don't know how you got that far. That was a bold prediction.
Far, and this is even before officially E3 started. I've nailed it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. All right, one last thing about Xbox One with the Slim. Now, I'm not really 100% sure of what official news is out there yet. Maybe I missed it, but I know that there's
it's just
all
a
but
rumor.
Confirmed. Okay.
It's a rumor with a pic. The actual picture is a pretty cool looking Xbox One. I mean, it still looks like an Xbox One. But the two things that I've heard about it is 4K ready, and it's 40%. This is kind of a big deal. 40% smaller than the original Xbox One, which in the past, stuff like that wouldn't have bothered me, but my Xbox One's so big, and it takes up so much space, I have trouble fitting all my consoles in my gaming area.
Yeah, as
of the
someone
Xbox One.
As someone who just reset up all my entertainment unit stuff after the move, and I'm plugging everything back in. I've got my PS4. It's pretty normal size, size of a DVD player, Blu-ray, basically. I put my 360 back up there again. There's a few games that I can only play on there still, and then I put the Xbox One right in the middle, and it's hogging like 50% of the shelf space for the consoles. It's just massive. It looks like a VCR DVD combo player. That's what it looks like. It's huge. It's huge. So anyway, Xbox One Slim, that would be very cool. And with some kind of big price drop, especially if they're going to have an Xbox 1.5 of some kind. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So E3 is upon us. And it's an exciting time. I know that as I'm able to, I'll be checking the news line, the headlines this week. I know that Sony has an evening conference, so I'll definitely be watching that. Microsoft's and Nintendo's, I'll just have to read what stories come out of theirs. But it is an exciting week for gamers.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do, and I asked our community this too, I wanted to make a few predictions. I know it's last minute here. Many of you will be listening to this, and you will have already seen some of the conferences. But hopefully some of you that listen, let's say on Monday, you're with us. You're still kind of guessing what still might happen. So I reached out to the community, and I said, guys, give us some predictions. And so let me share with you a few of our regular community members what they predicted. First of all is Dan Phillips, our good buddy Dan. And by the way, he just took an awesome trip to Mount Rushmore with his family, which looked amazing. Kind of jealous of that. That looked really cool. He says The Last Guardian is officially announced with the release date. The release date for The Last Guardian is officially announced, and it's going to be August. So his big prediction is that Sony is going to come out swinging and say August for The Last Guardian.
I think August is too soon. I think he's right that it's going to come out this year, but I think it's going to be with Gran Turismo. It's going to be Sony's major releases for the fall. Again, talking AAA. So I do think he's right. It's going to get announced as far as, yes, it's coming out this year, and they'll give us a release date. I just don't know if I believe it will be August.
Okay. All right, well, if Dan is right, then he can throw it back in your face.
But I will say this, and I don't know if you remember this, I called Watch Dogs 2 coming out.
You did, yeah. When we talked about Ubisoft taking a break from Assassin's Creed, you did call it.
Yeah, I did say that it was going to come out this year, or I wanted it to.
All right, well, this is the second shout-out for this young man, and Jesse White says, that EA will take too much time talking about sports games. Now, EA already had their conference today, and I do believe they talked a lot about their sports games. But I don't know if it was too much when you think of all the other things they covered. So, kind of depends on your perspective there. But that was his one prediction, which was one of the safest predictions ever made. He predicts that Titanfall 2 of all the conferences will be featured most heavily at Sony's conference.
I don't agree with that, only because they showed so much at EA's conference today.
They really did, yeah.
That I don't see the need for Titanfall to be on anybody else's stage. Like, there's nothing else they can tell us about the game or show us. They showed multiplayer, they showed single player.
Yeah,
I just don't think they're going to come out and be like, hey, let's do a live demo of a game you've already seen a bunch of gameplay of.
Now, am I remembering correctly that last year with Star Wars Battlefront, wasn't that featured at Microsoft? It was Sony quite a bit, as well as with EA. Didn't they feature it at both press conferences last year?
Yeah, but I think here at EA they had. First of all, I think EA was before Sony last year as well. But I don't think they shared all the information. Like, I think they held stuff back. The reason
so you're saying that everything about Titanfall 2. Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing they might do, if there is like a partnership with Sony and Titanfall 2 with EA, they might make an announcement at their press conference of like some DLC or something that might be coming exclusively first to Sony. But I don't think it's going to be like what he's probably thinking here, like Battlefront, where it was like a major partnership. Like, hey, most people think Battlefront's only coming out on the PS4 because that's all it's advertised on, type thing.
Yeah, you could be right about that, and it could be one of those things where it could be out of left field where it's, oh, by the way, Titanfall VR coming to PlayStation or something crazy.
Now, then he would be right and I would be an idiot. But yeah, it could be something like that.
And his last prediction / wish, I would call it, is that he really wants a release date for Hellblade. He just wants to know when he can expect this game.
Hellblade is canceled.
Oh, a heart just broke.
And I am still way better than Noah at Rocket League. So if Jesse listens to the show, he should be offended by me multiple times. First of all, I called you out that you need an easy mode for Final Fantasy X. Hellblade is canceled, and I'm way better than Noah at Rocket League.
All right, so anyway, I'm with Jesse. I want a release date too. Sorry about that barrage of attacks, the verbal attacks from Derek. Okay,
Tim, you're next.
Hellblade looks amazing. I think that game just feels so far away.
Well, here's the thing. This is what's funny, and this isn't a knock. Like, I'm not one. Okay, I'm totally gonna come across as like a Dark Souls like fanboy. Is Jesse's excited about this game? You're excited about this game, and for good reason. For all the information that's come out on like the plot, the character, all that.
Yeah,
it's
very, very deep character development.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually recently showed the gameplay, and it had a Dark Souls vibe to it. It did not have like a DMC or Enslaved vibe. It had a, hey, you're going to have a lot of intense one-on-one battles, and because you are a girl character, this is not sexist, this is just them playing off reality, you're going to be weaker than most of your opponents, and now you have to use your brain to figure out how to
Yeah, but keep in mind, even though I still have a weird aversion to the Souls series and Bloodborne, I still love Witcher 3, and I think you can make comparisons to that too. So,
we all know the Witcher 3's gameplay is trash compared to Souls.
Every episode. All right,
episode.
And lastly, we got Gaston Senya, and he made 2 predictions that came true. Now, I don't know, maybe there were already rumors that I missed. I wasn't totally up to date with all the rumors and news.
At least for Prey 2, which I'm totally jumping you, Prey 2, that's more wishful thinking, because Prey 2 was announced and then canceled. So my guess is Gaston was like, I just hope it comes out. And
he was right. They announced it tonight with Bethesda.
Yeah. They didn't call it, I don't think they called it Prey 2, they just called it Prey. Yeah, and here's the other thing that's really cool is it's Arcane Studios who's doing Dishonored 2, or did Dishonored and is doing Dishonored 2. They obviously are big enough now that the lead director on Dishonored actually went and he's overseeing Prey.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. That makes Prey
cool.
to me legitimately a big time game. And then I missed the whole Quake part of it, and I'm not really that big.
I'm not either. I watched the trailer for the new Quake game, and you know, it's futuristic, guys in big metal suits shooting each other. Some people have like
multiplayer only, or are they gonna have a single player?
Did
you see anything? I missed it. I'm sorry,
I didn't watch the entire press conference. I watched bits and pieces, and then for the Quake, all I watched was the trailer. So I didn't see any of the details before or after that were shared. But I would be shocked if it's not just a massive, you know, multiplayer, lots of arenas, lots of options, everything that Quake fans love.
So far, Gaston's 2 for 2, but he goes on from there. So let's go.
He predicts that we'll see a big announcement from Ubisoft for Blood Dragon 2, which would be hilarious and cool.
I think he could be right, though, yeah.
He could be. It was a surprise hit for them. It was not a fully realized game, but it was a fun little spin-off from the Far Cry series.
I wonder if they'll make it, like, instead of, like, calling it Blood Dragon 2, if they'll spin it off but make it, like, a major release. Like, hey, this is a 20, 30-hour game. It's $60.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you get to play in this weird, crazy 80s, you know, setting.
Yeah, it's interesting that Ubisoft has basically created 2 brand new IPs using the popular name Far Cry, which they didn't really need other than the brand recognition. Think about Blood Dragon. Other than the control scheme and all that kind of stuff, there's not really a lot that's Far Cry about it. And the same thing with Primal. Even though the game systems are very Far Cry, you technically could have just called that Primal, and it could have just been a Ubisoft prehistoric open world, you know, action-adventure game. But that being said, it'd be very interesting to see if they do announce Blood Dragon 2, if they just get rid of the name. All that to say, if they get rid of the name Far Cry, that'd be interesting to see if they see this as a separate IP that's got its own legs now. So he also predicts 2 very out-there predictions that have been called for years, and I think he's trying to be half funny, half serious. I'm not totally sure. But
I think as somebody who knows him pretty well, he wants these games.
He wants Battletoads
so
from Microsoft.
He's probably the type that says this every
year. Yeah, so Battletoads from Microsoft and Crash Bandicoot from Sony. So if
I know he wants.
If he nails these, what if all 5 of these happen? We gotta give him something.
I didn't read the article, but I think it was IGN that said there was like a leak that Crash Bandicoot is confirmed, or it is coming, but not a game. Said like the article said, but not what you wanted. So I don't know what they're doing with it, but I don't think he's gonna get what he wants based off that article.
Well, that would be. We owe him something. We got to get him like a gift card or something. If he gets all 5 of these right, that would be really impressive. So,
if he gets all 5 right, I'll give him an internet hug.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's extremely expensive and rare.
Yeah. It is really expensive. Yeah, that technology. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about what we think is going to happen this year at E3. And so what we'll do is we'll just take turns. We don't have to go like publisher or company for company. Just like make a prediction about anybody, anything you think might happen at the show. So I'll go first. I've got some of mine written down here. I don't know if you've got yours just kind of in your head, if you know what you're going to predict. But so here's one of mine. I think that EA will come out and announce a quirky indie-style game in the vein of Ori, and they're going to call it Fe, F-E.
Wow.
That's my prediction.
You are really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Really good.
Thank you. Well, it's a wild shot in the dark. We'll see if it comes true. I think you should pay me $1,000. That's the bet.
Oh yeah. I'll actually, because I don't have 1,000, I'll just send you all my consoles.
Oh, perfect. That'd be great. I'll give you my new address. All right. So, what do you think?
Pretty cool.
Faye did look kind of cool. It looks like a 3D platforming version, very much in the vein of Ori. But that's not a bad thing. As Jesse White, we were talking in a group chat earlier today with a whole bunch of us. And one thing that Jesse pointed out was, that's fine. Rip off Ori if you want to. Ori is amazing. And I totally agree with that. You know, if they can pull off that look, even though it's kind of familiar at this point, that's fine. You know, make a great game. And I'm looking forward to that one. So
I would actually just love to see Ori 2.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe you can't have, and I say Ori 2, but anybody who knows how Ori plays out, maybe you can't really have Ori 2. But something from those guys, girls, creating another game in that vein with that, in my opinion, that is the most beautiful game, and I still listen to the soundtrack. So
It's-
even though
it's-
I
it
had
is
to be
beautiful.
a wuss and beat the game on casual mode, I freaking love that game, and I would definitely play
Yeah.
another one.
It's
But anyways,
an emotional experience, yeah.
my first prediction, I already said it earlier, so this will give me more time to think of other ones. But I'm going to go with Crackdown 3 is going to be a November 2016 release for Microsoft. It's going to be the major game, because everybody knows about Gears of War 4. You know, pre-orders are already up, so they're going to show you stuff on Gears. I don't think they'll talk about Halo or anything like that. I think their main focus will be dropping Crackdown in November.
Okay. That would be very cool. That'd be a good one.
Crackdown 3, I'll tell you what, and we've only seen a little bit, I think it could legitimately be a blockbuster, major game for Microsoft.
Okay.
So that November slot sounds good.
Okay. Well, I made a couple of predictions for Bethesda, and I was wrong on all of them. But just to give you an idea, I thought they would announce a new Wolfenstein tonight. And again, like I said, I've only watched bits and pieces of the press conference. So call me out if I missed a big piece of news as I was watching it and then dealing with kids.
I don't think so, because I went on IGN while we were talking just to see if anything else was announced. And even though I didn't get to watch all the show, I feel like everything I saw was basically the show. So I think they spent a lot of time on Dishonored.
Well, and my second prediction was going to be I really thought they're going to bring back one of their old IPs and reinvigorate it somehow. So I predicted it would be Rage 2 because I knew Rage was received as some, kind of shrugs, but it was a very pretty game and it had some potential in some ways. So I thought maybe it's time to bring.
It was an amazing game that lacked a compelling story.
Yeah.
So when I say amazing, I'm saying it played amazing.
And it looked great.
Yeah, it looked great for the generation it released on.
Yeah.
And it was locked at 60 frames per second, so it was really well done. But I don't think it sold well enough that they have it on high priority, especially since they can now just dig up old first-person shooters they used to do.
Yeah, for some reason I just thought the time was ripe for a Rage 2. But I was wrong.
Oh, Bethesda teases Wolfenstein New Colossus.
Oh, okay. See,
this is probably what they ended with.
This is the problem with not watching the press conferences, start to finish, is you might miss a little bit. Was that their closing thing that they did or something?
That's what I think. Okay. I'm trying to read real close, but anyway, I don't know if it's a major release or DLC, but it looks like they at least are doing something new. It's unclear if it means New Colossus will be Wolfenstein's next DLC or a new game entirely.
Okay.
So it doesn't sound like it's very clear.
Well, I also made a prediction. I knew that there was rumors of a Skyrim remaster, so I went out on a limb and said I think they might even do a short, press conference closer to tease Elder Scrolls 6. Maybe even without the title, just like maybe a voiceover of some kind, and as the screen pans out, you start to see the emblem for Elder Scrolls 6.
I mean,
I thought they
my
would do
guess
something like
is
that,
they're going to handle Elder Scrolls like they did Fallout, and just let
Announce
them
it,
work
release
on
it.
it for years, and let other games like, what they talked about tonight, and then next year we'll get The Evil Within 2, and stuff like that, and then, maybe a year from there, you'll get the Elder Scrolls 6 and then releasing in November.
Well, what else do you think is going to happen this week? We got a lot of news and announcements that we have not heard about yet, or that haven't been confirmed yet. So, what do you think? What's another prediction of yours?
I'm going to go out on a limb. This is one that probably won't come true, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think Nintendo is going to talk about Zelda. Whatever it is.
Interesting. Yeah. Risky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been confirmed yet, even though it has. But
it's so funny with Nintendo. They're like, everyone's like, "Hey, Nintendo, you're coming to E3." They're like, "Oh, you mean Zelda conference? Oh, you mean the Zelda thing?" Yeah, just Zelda. We're not called Nintendo anymore. We're just called Zelda now. Like all they talk about is Zelda.
I am curious to see if they're going to bring anything besides just Zelda.
But let's be honest. If any of you out there, any of you listening, and the same for you, Derek, if you have any interest in Zelda at all, you're pretty excited to see this new game in motion, like to actually see it being played. So there's a lot of excitement for that. Even though we might not expect a huge announcement or a game-changing piece of info from Nintendo, at the very least, it'll be cool to see this game finally running. So
here's a prediction, a serious one. I think we're going to get a Resistance Trilogy remaster, or whatever you want to call it,
all right,
for the PS4, and we're also going to see a relationship between Sony and Insomniac again to release. I don't know if it'll be a new Resistance, but like a new first-person shooter that Insomniac will own, but it will be published for
exclusive to
yeah.
Sony. Okay,
kind of like what they did with Microsoft with the what's the game? Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah,
it's still, I believe, owned by Insomniac, but it was an exclusive for Xbox One.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I've never played those games, so I would be down for that, to try those games out. I know that
Resistance
Colin
games
Moriarty,
are really good.
I know that Colin from Kinda Funny loves those games, so I'd be interested to try those out too.
Like, I would legitimately get excited if they came out and said, $60 you get all 3 of these, plus, by the way, we're working on this game, and then they show like the short trailer to kind of tease you that, to kind of get you hyped that Insomniac and Sony have got something going on.
Well, my thoughts on Sony, I've got two different predictions. One is a smaller one, but I do think it's going to be a way to try to be a little more fan base friendly, and I think they're going to drop their price for PS Now and do one more push with that before they forget about it. I think they're going to drop the price to $10 a month. Right now, it's $20 a month. And if you do 3 months at a time, then it's $10 a month. So I think they're going to drop the price to a month-to-month opportunity to play for $10 a month, and I think they're going to add another wave of PS3 games to that. So that's a smaller prediction, but I think it'll be part of their show. And then I think they will actually tease Bloodborne 2, and it will be announced that it's exclusive again to the PS4, which would be surprising because most people expect that to be multi-platform, but I think that Sony will hook them in for a Bloodborne 2 to be.
I thought Bloodborne. No, I think Bloodborne's owned by Sony. From Software just worked on it, but I think Bloodborne is Sony's IP, so it should be an exclusive no matter what.
See, I did not know that. I thought that.
I think Sony owns Bloodborne, and it's just up to whether From Software works on it again.
Okay.
Or if maybe they get somebody else.
Then I guess cut that prediction in half and just that Bloodborne 2.
I think you're right that Bloodborne 2, we'll see something.
Yeah. At least, again, it might just be like the iconic weapon, and maybe the logo comes up with a 2 underneath, dripping in blood or whatever. Something will happen where we get the idea that Bloodborne 2 is on the way with zero other info. I don't even think it'll have a year. I think it'll just say Bloodborne 2. And it'll just be like, hey, we're working on this. And even if all they've done so far is do some kind of creative, roundtable meetings, and that's all, even if nothing's been done yet, I think they're going to talk about it just briefly. You got any other thoughts for predictions this week?
I think Microsoft is going to announce Death Row 2.
Oh, I hope so, because I know they listen to our show, and so hopefully they've been listening to you talk about it.
And EA is going to announce Knights of the Old Republic 3. Oh, excellent. That's right.
Yeah. Oh.
And Jade Empire 2.
I do think Microsoft is going to have a Halo 6 teaser, but I could be wrong about that based on everything else they have going on. But it would be one of those things where it would be
drop it at the very end after you've had this big thing about Crackdown 3.
Exactly.
Get everybody hyped about that, and then as the closing, just drop a kind of like they did with Guardians, where they had Master Chief wearing what he was wearing to hide his identity. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of lets you know it's Halo 5 and it goes away.
Halo 6. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I actually think that it's going to top off what will probably be one of the stronger press conferences of this E3, if not the best. I think Microsoft might... There's something about this year feels like Microsoft is about to announce some amazing stuff. I think they're going to kill it again this fall with everything like you mentioned already. Everything from ReCore to Gears of War to
Yeah.
to Crackdown 3 possibly. I think announcing something for 2017 in Halo 6, even though it's going to be a year and a half away, I think going ahead and kind of laying the groundwork for the hype there, they would totally blow people's minds. Everyone would walk out of that or turn off their computer after that thinking, wow, Microsoft is bringing it. And so,
I think we're going to see something about Fable. Like, I would think we're going to see something about
Really?
Fable before we'll see something about Halo.
I don't
think that's
think
why
so.
we're getting all that news about Fable, and it's all negative news, because I think in E3, Microsoft's going to drop like a bomb and be like, we've
That's
been
crazy.
working on this. You
No,
know,
I
that
don't
type
think we're
of
going to
thing.
hear anything about Halo for years now. I think it's another. It's going to be a
You
while.
mean
It'll
Fable?
come back. What did I say?
You said Halo.
Oh, yeah, Fable. Yeah, Fable. I don't think we're going
No,
to
I
hear
think
anything
they're
about
gonna-
Fable for a long time. I
All
think it's
right,
gonna
well, when I'm right, you can send me...
Uh-huh.
I actually need to renew my PlayStation Plus. You can just
Oh.
send me a PlayStation Plus card or
All right.
code.
All right, fair enough. If they announce Fable, if they make some kind of official, here's what's happening with Fable, and it's real, it's an actual Fable game, not some kind of anniversary HD thing. If they announce some kind of real Fable game, I will resubscribe you. To
All right,
PS
no,
Plus for it.
never mind. You screwed me because I was trying to trick you. I was thinking in my head it's going to be like Fable Anniversary on the Xbox One.
Oh, okay. Well, no. If they
Now you're screwing me.
announce a new Fable game is coming from Microsoft, obviously it would have to be a new developer now.
Here's what I was thinking they're going to do. I think they're going to release, or kind of, if they talk about Fable at all, my prediction would have been that I would think that they're going to release Fable Anniversary on the Xbox One, and they're going to kind of, it's not going to just be like, oh, this is backwards compatibility because it was on the 360. Like, I think they're going to up-res it, make it pretty, and release it in, 2017, like early 2017.
I got you.
And they were going to let the fans know Fable is in good hands. Here's what we're doing, or just drop like a title or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I still think it's going to be a while till we hear from Fable again. And my last prediction is I think Nintendo, and this is the long shot because they've already said they're only talking about Zelda and probably Pokemon, I guess, for the 3DS. I think we might hear about a Mario Galaxy HD collection this year, and that's going to be the final swan song for the Wii U, other than their port of the Zelda game. I think we're going to get a Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 HD collection.
I think you're probably going to be right on that. I think even though they're saying this is Zelda, I think you're still going to get a little bit from Nintendo
Something.
outside of Zelda.
Yeah, and it might not be Mario Galaxy, although that's, if I had to make a guess, that's my
I
guess.
think
There's
that's
going to
gonna
be
be-
something, and it's going to be something from either the GameCube or Wii generation brought back as like, hey, look what's on the Wii U this fall or whatever.
Mario Sunshine.
But that wouldn't surprise me any more than the Galaxy one, honestly. Like, if I could have swapped that in and said, hey, they're going to announce a Mario Sunshine HD remaster
Sunshine would actually be easier to do than Galaxy.
because of the control scheme.
No, because you can use your Wii controllers that nobody uses on the Wii U.
All right, any other predictions before we close things out here?
No. Before we just shut things down, though, I did want to just say, because we got to see a little bit of Bethesda, and I got to see a little bit of EA. I gotta say, overall, I'm a little disappointed with those two shows. I'm not saying they're bad. EA's was pretty boring from what I watched.
Okay.
And not having any major announcements, in my opinion. The most exciting thing was just showing us that they are working on a lot of Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's
Shocking.
like 5 or 6 different studios working on Star Wars stuff.
Right.
So it was really disappointing to see that and then not hear, oh, by the way, one of them's working on Knights of the Old Republic. But I'm
Probably
really
just too early
hoping...
for them to get any more specific than that.
Yeah, and since we're recording this the day before and it hopefully will be out tomorrow, what I wanted to ask you, and we can close on this, who do you think is going to have the most surprises and the best E3 show between Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft? Forget like Ubisoft and all them. We know they're going to have pretty good shows showing off their stuff. Just between the big three, who's going to have the most... like, I preferred Microsoft's show last year, but I can easily admit that Sony drops probably the biggest bombs.
Right.
With, like, their reveals.
Yep. No, I think this is the year of Microsoft in terms of E3 at least. I think Microsoft is not only going to have the biggest surprises, they're also just going to, when it's all said and done, the dust settles, we're going to look and say, yeah, Microsoft had the strongest show. Even as objectively as we can, I think we'll all agree Microsoft did the best. That's my prediction.
Okay. And I would say, I think we're kind of going to get a repeat of last year. I think Microsoft has kind of given us an outline of how they're working with the August, September, October, November big releases. So most of us know, but even though it's not locked in, have a general idea of what's coming this year. And I think that's going to make a lot of gamers who are Microsoft fans, obviously, happy. I just am kind of hoping they're going to have a surprise. That's why I was saying, with all the negative reports about Fable, I think if you want to drop Jaws, is you come out and not only announce like a Fable anniversary for the Xbox One, but then you let everybody know, hey, by the way, the new Fable, it's being worked on now. It's in good hands. We're going to take care of you.
I can see that. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I'm going to say Sony's going to do it again. I think Sony is the most mysterious out of the three. I would love to say Nintendo is, because they literally don't show us anything. But I think Sony is the most mysterious because there's really no leaks. You also can't look at their past history on releases and say, well, they're definitely going to drop a game in September, October. You can't do that. Like, you have to go, well, are we going to get a AAA? And if we are, what are we getting? I mean, the only thing we know for sure right now is VR. We're going to get a lot of VR.
Right.
So I think we're going to get a lot of VR games that we didn't know were VR, and they'll be VR ready in October. Right. And I think we already know Gran Turismo's a big release for them. But besides that, we really don't know anything else that's going on this fall.
And by the way, speaking of VR, Bethesda did make a few VR announcements with Doom.
Yeah, they did.
Doom and
Fallout 4.
Fallout 4, yeah, with being some VR versions of those. So, but that's why I think Sony's is actually going to be surprisingly weak this year. I think there's going to be an overemphasis on things we already know about and overemphasis on VR. And I think it's going to kind of come off stale. Now, I could be I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope they actually keep the VR conversation a little more limited and want you to try it on the show floor. And then they simply mention VR as being, this game that we just announced will also be on VR. Like, that would be fine. I just get the feeling there's going to be too much of trying to show you the experience.
Sony is probably going to, and that's probably why they didn't want to include Neo. I think they're still trying to sell. I shouldn't say that because it apparently pre-ordered quite well. But they're still going to try to sell you on the VR experience and the VR games.
Yeah, which is great for people who are into that technology. I've talked before about why I'm not super excited about it. I'm not writing it off, but I'm not super excited about it. But I think Sony's show is going to come off overall as a weaker feeling press conference for E3. I think Microsoft's will have the big bomb surprises and will just come off as more of a general gamer-friendly conference with a lot of exciting announcements. And I think Nintendo will be exactly what we would expect, plus one or two things that are pleasant surprises. So we'll come out thinking, like, yeah, all right, Nintendo, we'll see what happens when you actually talk about your NX. But for right now, it wasn't awful and it wasn't amazing. I think that's how it's going to land this coming week.
That sounds about right.
So, all right. Well, we need to close things out here. It's getting late. I know for me, it's getting kind of late. For you, it's super late with this time change, which is super annoying. But
I mean, to be honest, you were just rude. I mean,
I know.
Who moves?
I know. I
should have like such a successful show.
I should have just left everything the way it was. I don't know what I was thinking.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 9, 6 listeners.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you all enjoy your E3 week, and be sure to join our group on Facebook, Fathers of the Grind. You could email us, fathersofthegrind@gmail.com. You could hit us up on the Facebook group as well, just to ask questions, add your thoughts, and we'd love to hear from you. So thanks again for listening. Happy E3, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?